And brand architecture was one of the challenges that they were working with during this brand refresh. And I went back to the book I wrote 10 years ago to see if I'd said anything about CNET 10 years ago, and sure enough, there's a little paragraph in there about CNET 10 years ago and how they were buying and aggregating a bunch of different .com properties and putting it under the CNET.com umbrella. And the comment I made at that time was that this could create some problems down the road if they didn't have a coherent, disciplined, brand system. At the time we called it brand system instead of brand architecture. And so when we went back to CNET with our phase 1 assessment, and part of that I used that quote, but I didn't reference when we had made that quote. And they said, yeah, that's pretty much describing our problem today. And I said, well, that's a problem you had 10 years ago. And they kind of, their mouths just dropped open and said, geez, you're kidding, really? And it's true. These problems that companies face with the dynamics of brand architecture go on and on and on as the industry and the business goes on and on and on.
Yeah, we do track their brand results and provide a dashboard pretty frequently. I think it's actually quarterly. We provide that insight, and they have fantastically deep pockets to do this. And they also looked at all the touch points that customers would get, and they were very deliberate in their messaging about, the new AT&T, and Singular is now the new AT&T. They adopted the bars and some other transition elements. So I think that we are seeing that the association of AT&T with mobility is definitely coming way up in their brand tracking, and Singular is not mourned. I think that they did a long enough, a gradual enough, and extensive enough transition.
Acquired Macromedia in 2005. There was an immediate and conscious decision by the executive team to retire the Macromedia brand. We didn't bring it along in any way, shape, or form, so it was a fairly quick transition. And I think it was to Hunter's point about AT&T. It was an acquisition that very much fit the Adobe brand, extending what Adobe was really known for in publishing and content design, management, all the things, basically just bringing us greater capability in the web interactive area and giving us a much more kind of cross-media focus. And so because it was so core, and most of the equities seem to be basically in the Flash technology, some of the product brands, and the equity of Macromedia as a corporate brand was less so. There was the decision, rather than go through a very convoluted transition process, let's kind of retire the source brand Macromedia and then move on quickly. So I think that worked.
The example I gave earlier about Hitachi was really a matter of reducing the number of brands, and realistically they were proliferation of product names, which ended up trying to become brands. And the fundamental approach on that was to take the marketing budget and divide into it the number of names that we were expecting our customer to remember, and then looking at that number, showing that number to everyone else in the company and say, can you sustain your brand for $1,500 a year? Typically the answer was no. There's some really entrepreneurial guys who felt that with social media we could do it. So what we did is we, there were a lot of pet names owned by the product marketing team. Frankly, pet names owned, a high degree of ownership felt by the engineers in Japan who had developed these. And those of you that have dealt with Japanese marketing know that the whole marketing approach is different in Japan, where the pet names of the products are dominant and the company names are less so.
Given that during these M&A periods, the speed to the branding can be a competitive advantage, as you just talked about, what could you have done to speed up the process?
Where I think we really missed the opportunity was the brand. We did not think through the brand at all. I mean, again, it's kind of Seagate's a very operational company. We're doing this to acquire manufacturing capability, we're doing it to acquire customers, we're doing it to acquire market share. We don't care about the brand. Boom. And then kind of made the decision, announced it, got a little way through it, and then all of a sudden I had the retail guys come to me and saying, you know, I think there's a good opportunity here. We had to really keep that brand. And then kind of we did a lot of research. And the channel guys, you know, there's really a good opportunity. So the brand decision was really made after the fact tactically. And, you know, I'm a big, it's like, hi, I'm a monolithic brand person. I'm a really big monolithic brand. That's why I like Cisco. Cisco, I was there, boy, monolithic brand. And I fought it for a while until I realized it wasn't doing me any good at all. So I think we could have, if we planned for it, if we made those decisions, if I'd been more of a, or, you know, somebody had been thinking about that more when we were beginning those discussions, I think we could have been much faster, much more effective. But it really was. It was like, nope, we don't care about the brand. We're just buying them to get assets, and then the brand discussion came afterwards. I think when we made some of these decisions within, it was barely 4 weeks before it closed. Some of these decisions, so it was really.